Wheat School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Syngenta Canada, Alberta Wheat Commission, and C&M Seeds.
Cam Dahl joins us here at the Cereals Canada head office in Winnipeg, and Cam, Cereals Canada has launched the Keep It Clean campaign. Can you explain why this is an increasingly important issue for the cereal industry?
Yeah, and it really is. I think that this is one of the more important issues facing Canada's grains and oilseed sector. And I should mention at the outset that this is an expansion of the Canola Council's efforts on similar issues. And the reason we went to the Canola Council and said, look, can we expand this effort and expand the brand, is to ensure that the industry as a whole, as much as possible, is delivering a single message to producers across a single platform. And that effort, I think, has been highly successful. So kudos to the Canola Council for being willing to do that. And I really do think that it is the way to go.
So this is a move, we're seeing a move toward increased testing of grain for residues and for mycotoxins, as well as better testing or more accurate testing. That's underlying this whole issue. Yes,
and there's testing down to very, very small levels. I mentioned that a part per trillion is 1 second in 32,000 years, which is a really, really small number. But if a country has a limit of 0, 1 second in 32,000 years is still bigger than 0. And so those are the kinds of limits that we're looking at as an industry and testing levels. So it's becoming more and more of an issue in grain markets around the world as we go forward.
And there are really two main areas under Keep It Clean that are priorities?
Yes, one of the key priority areas is around residues, and two subcategories around that. One is the asynchronous approval issues, where we have products approved in Canada but not in some of our major markets. And that does cause concern, because if there isn't approval in those major markets, then again their tolerances can be at 0, and that of course is next to impossible to meet. And the second issue is just on residues in general, and stress the importance of producers following the label on their products. If the label says that it shouldn't be applied while the crop is higher than 30% moisture, as is the label on glyphosate, then it should not be applied when the crop is above 30% moisture. And respecting the pre-harvest interval and those kinds of issues are critically important. And then the second category in Keep It Clean is mycotoxins. So ochratoxin A, which is a fungus that grows in storage. And it's measured in parts per billion, and so that gets into some very tricky sampling and testing procedures, and then as well, of course, deoxynivalenol, which is produced by the Fusarium infection while the crop is still growing.
So for growers following within these guidelines, or obviously this is a priority for keeping markets open, but everybody has special situations where you might be in a situation where applying glyphosate might be questionable when you're applying it. What incentive do they have to really make this a priority?
Well, it's keeping the Canadian reputation, and for consistency and quality, but most importantly for grain safety. This really is a safety issue. If there's a question, well, is there any circumstances where it's okay to not really follow the label? The answer is no. There are no circumstances where it's acceptable to apply any product. I'm not going to focus on any in particular, but the labels are developed through a science-based process, through a pest management regulatory agency. They're not randomly put together, and those guidelines really do need to be kept. And our markets here at home, because it applies to Canada as well. These are our safety guidelines. So our markets here at home and around the world depend on keeping our product clean.
Going back to, you talked about the need to have approvals in place in all the key markets, and ideally those approvals would come at the same time. Is there any effort to coordinate approvals between the major markets?
Yes, there is. Working through the Canada Grains Council and international bodies like the International Grains Trades Coalition, working with like-minded organizations in other countries. So yes, there are efforts underway, but that is it's a big hill to climb, and so we need to keep working on reforming Codex and reforming those international organizations, but at the same time, we do need to consider those market realities today as well.
All right. Last time we heard from you, Cam, you didn't have an answer when Sean asked you what your favorite sports movie was. You say you have an answer now?
Yeah, it's Happy Gilmore. It is the best sports movie ever.
It's up there. You're right.